I want you to think about bridging the intention gap. You're like, what are you talking about, bridge the intention gap? I'm talking about you all have things that you intend to do financially. You've been that way in the past. You've had things that you've intended to do, but the intention maybe did not match up with the action. So maybe the action never manifested or the action never took place. And so an example of that is, so here it is, you want to go away from the state of not doing X to actually doing X. And X could be anything. Okay, so you want to move away in your mind from not doing something and move into actually doing it. That's what we're saying. Now, here's another part of that equation. How about if you were doing X, whatever X is, but you really wanted to do Y, okay? And so here's the thing. When you bridge the intention gap, if you know that you weren't doing something and that you know you should, you've got to do something to get you into action. And on the other hand, if you have been in action and you've been doing something that hasn't produced the results that you wanted them to produce, then that means you got to do something different, something else. So this is what we mean by bridging the intention gap. You have to move yourself into the right action, either moving away from not doing anything and also moving away from doing the wrong thing. So that's what we got to do. Now, so that means that we got to check our mindset. Okay, you guys, those of you who know me know that I'm big on money mindset, and so I'm going to share with you again about the OW brain cycle and the WOW brain cycle. And so the OW brain cycle is the negative one. That's negative. We're going to get into that. And the positive brain cycle is WOW. Okay, and there are two different distinctions, and I'll share with you what they are now. So the negative or the OW brain says, okay, you might be a little bit dissatisfied with things in your life. And even though you might be progressing forward in things, you're looking at the bigger picture and you're saying, all right, I've only paid off so much debt, but I have, still 98% of my debt still hanging out there. And so that could potentially discourage you. And if you're already in a negative mindset because you're feeling the pain, the frustration, the struggle, and everything is hurtful or painful or it's a struggle, then that is the vibe that you're going to be operating your finances from, and that's not a good place. Okay, so that's the OWL brain cycle. And so what we want you to do, what I want you to think about is move into the WOW brain cycle, really what this is all about. You being motivated by life, you're looking at your growth, you're looking at your progress, but here's the thing. You're not comparing it against what you haven't done. You're comparing your progress based on where you started from. Now, let's say when you weren't doing nothing. Remember I said you were thinking about doing X, but you weren't doing X, right? So what the WOW mindset says, you know what? Things are great. I'm moving. I'm in action. And so I've made progress, which means that I'm not where I was when I first started. And so I feel good about that. And so that's a different perspective than the other perspective where you're comparing yourself against the finished goal and you're getting discouraged. So if you compare yourself by looking backwards to where you started from, and you know that you've made some progress, then you can't help but feel good about that because you have made some type of action. You've made some type of action when you were able to move from that other place to the place where you are now. And so what I'm suggesting that all of you do, starting tonight, what I'm suggesting that you do for real is to take this WOW mindset and use it. Use the mindset, be positive. Think about what happened last year or the year before and where you were versus where you are today. Let the joy of the fact that you've made a little bit of progress, let that rule you and dictate how you respond and not responding from the negative cycle. Okay? Because have you ever went somewhere, let's say you went to a mall or a store or anywhere where you're spending your money, and the person behind the counter has a very sour look on their face. Like, look, I'm in your place of establishment spending money. You ought to be happy that I'm supporting your job, right? But for some reason that people are, they have that negative mindset, and that comes across at work. It comes across in regular conversations. But here's the deal. We don't want that anymore. We want to always operate from the positive mindset.